There's a foul battle brewing amongst foodies. Which is tastier, chicken meat or duck meat? Chicken eggs or duck eggs? They're both birds, obviously, but there are some significant culinary differences. Chicken meat is both white and dark. Duck meat, only dark meat. In fact, it's categorized as a red meat. And there are differences among the eggs, too. Duck eggs are bigger, the yolks are bigger, and the shells are tougher. Now, no matter what your preferences are, duck eggs and duck meat are both experiencing growing popularity right now, and they're both produced right here in Iowa. I'm Charity Nebbe. On this episode of Iowa Ingredient, we'll get the scoop on what goes into raising ducks and marketing their meat and eggs with a producer in Tripoli. Then the imaginative Chef Tom Skold from Restauration restaurant in Decorah gives us a classy twist and a classic spin on delicious duck dishes when he cooks with us in our studio kitchen. All that and more coming up next on Iowa Ingredient.
Funding for Iowa Ingredient has been provided by a grant from the W.T. and Edna M. Dahl Trust, Chef Lisa Laval of Trellis Cafe and Chef Michael Laval of the Des Moines Embassy Club. For more than 100 years, the Des Moines Embassy Club has provided a place to dine, celebrate, and do business. Located in downtown Des Moines and in West Des Moines, details are at embassyclub.com. Friends, the Iowa Public Television Foundation.
Around the world, duck is eaten in many different ways. The Chinese domesticated the duck thousands of years ago, and it's still a very popular meat in that culture. Duck meat also shows up in English literature, usually in the form of a roasted duck eaten on a holiday or a special occasion. And duck eggs are a celebrated food item too. They're kind of like enhanced chicken eggs. They have a higher fat content than chicken eggs, and you can use them in all the same ways. So poach them, scramble them, use them in baked goods. Duck eggs and duck meat are alternatives to other poultry products, and you don't have to look very far to find someone who will tell you that they are richer and tastier alternatives.
A lot of people are like, I don't want to eat duck because it's really fatty, it's really greasy. Wild ducks are really fatty and greasy. They have to have all that padding to protect them for the winter.
When we think of duck, it's usually the wild mallard that comes to mind. Less familiar, but considered by many to be much more delicious, are the domesticated descendants of these wild ducks that are raised on farms throughout the world. In Iowa, ducks are celebrated by chefs and foodies for the rich flavor of their meat and eggs. So, after a few years of successfully raising chickens and turkeys on their organic vegetable farm, Rob and Tammy Fox decided to give ducks a try.
About 5 years ago, we heard about ducks and we said, oh, well, that sounds like fun. They're supposed to be really good at eating weeds and relatively self-reliant. So we said, okay, well, let's try those.
The Foxes began raising Muscovy ducks, the only breed that doesn't descend from the mallard. They're known for a stronger tasting and leaner meat that's similar to beef.
So the Muscovies are a bigger bird. They're going to get bigger than your pekin. One of the reasons that we went to doing Muscovies is a little bit of research over the winter showed us that Muscovies are actually a really good meat bird. They're a really lean meat. They're actually leaner than pork. So we tried those, and then we said, okay, well, let's try another breed because maybe we want to do duck eggs and meat birds. So we did a little trial through Practical Farmers of Iowa where we compared the Muscovies to the Appleyards. And what we ended up finding is that the Appleyards are a lot of fun. They're very personable. They really like us. But they're so for eggs, and they're a lot smaller for meat birds. So we decided after that trial, we discontinued efforts to raise the appleyards for meat. We do keep them still for eggs.
Duck eggs can be used just like chicken eggs, though you have to adjust for their larger size. They're especially popular in baked goods since they produce a moist texture and a rich final product.
My Muscovy and appleyard eggs, when you crack them open, there's a very thick shell, so it's harder to crack them open, but the whites on them are perfectly clear. The yolks are about twice the size of a normal hen egg. So duck eggs tend to have a very nutritious fat to them. They're higher in fat, but it's also the good kinds of fat. And there's a taste difference. It's kind of like the difference. Chicken eggs are like skim milk, maybe 1% milk, and duck eggs are like whole milk. They're a much richer taste. We raise them for 15 weeks. They've got a big enclosure. We protect it with an electric fence because we do have very heavy raccoon pressure and wild dogs, coyotes, etc. They take care of themselves for the most part during the day. I'll bring them greens every few days because they can't get all their nutrients off of the grass and the clover. Otherwise, they wander around the grass, they eat grasshoppers. We fill up, they've got 2 water tubs for them. So one thing that makes ducks harder than chickens is that chickens just need to sip on water. Ducks, because they like to be clean, will dip their heads in. They want to get in the water, they want to splash it around. They'll eat a little bit, they'll get feet on their bill, and they'll clean off in the water trough. So the water trough gets pretty dirty pretty quickly.
While the duck industry is small compared to chicken and turkey, many find duck to be a real treat, one that is definitely worth seeking out at the market.
You cut into a duck breast, and it's an awful lot like cutting into a really good filet mignon.
During our 4th season of Iowa Ingredient, we invited Chef Tom Skold of Restauration in Decorah to cook for us. Chef Tom serves up many fine meals using local foods, and he always finds a unique spin to spark your taste buds. Working with him that season, it became clear that he was certainly up for the challenge of cooking with one of our more unusual ingredients.
I had the hazelnut show a couple of seasons ago, and I don't know if they thought they were throwing me a curve or not, but I thought it was great.
And now I'm in the kitchen with Chef Tom, and what are we going to make?
We're going to make saffron risotto with hazelnuts. They gave me an ingredient that doesn't go with everything. Chopped hazelnuts for the top, and a little freshly grated Parmesan cheese. I didn't think it was a challenge at all. I loved getting that ingredient. There's always that part of you that says, I don't belong on TV.
3, 2.
Next in goes arborio rice. And you walk in to a fun group of people, from Terry, our host, to the producers, the crew, a colorful bunch of guys that absolutely makes you feel like you belong on TV. I mean, 5 minutes with that crew, and you feel like you belong there.
That is wonderful.
They convince you that you can actually do this.
On top, why don't we plate some up? And now we're here in the kitchen with Chef Tom, and we are going to be cooking with duck eggs and then duck a little bit later, but let's focus on the eggs right now. And duck eggs are kind of fetching a premium at farmers markets. They're in demand right now. Why? What's special about them?
They're rich, full-flavored, higher in protein, especially the white has nice high protein. They cook up nice and high, and they're just a real treat.
All right, and what are we going to make with them?
We're going to make eggs in a sourdough basket with tomato jam.
Nice.
I'll just grab a couple of slices here of this sourdough bread. Got this oval cutter here. Looks vaguely like a sports artifact.
Right.
And I'm going to kind of suggest an egg shape. in the middle here. Lay a little olive oil in this pan
All right.
to start.
And you like to toast the bread up first before
Put
introducing
these down
the
a little
egg, right?
bit. Yep, start with the bread. And these, we don't need these to go to waste. We'll just, you can make croutons,
Right.
but we'll put them there.
Perfect for dipping.
Yep. Add a little butter. Some in there. Butter in there. And some just near those cutouts. Got some duck eggs right here.
All right, and
We have blue, we have white. And we'll just go ahead and crack those on in.
They may not look that much bigger than chicken eggs, but
they're sizable.
yeah, they are. You can put your shell in here.
And a little tougher to crack.
All right.
Okay.
Oh, look at those yolks.
And away they go.
Beautiful. And we'll just let those.
We'll let it set up, adhere to the bread. Yeah.
Okay. While those are cooking, let's start the tomato jam.
Great. Roma tomatoes, large dice, cup of sugar,
All right.
zest and juice of a lime, cloves of garlic, cumin, coriander, and cinnamon.
And we'll stir that up. Here we go.
Thank you.
All right, and then once we get it all stirred up, we just leave it to simmer for,
About an hour,
all right,
low and slow.
wonderful. Unfortunately, you
and,
already
and this
have
is
a,
and this is what we come up with.
Oh, that's
Nice
beautiful.
little tomato jam there.
all right.
So, and I think we can go back to these, give them a flip. These check the color that way, with just the small breads there, and courage of your convictions.
Nice, well done.
As someone once said.
Beautiful. Aced it.
All right. And then we have just a little white cheddar, little Milton Prairie Breeze
My favorite.
from
That's
Iowa.
Great.
And we'll just top these up. And time for a meltdown.
All right, I've got a lid so we can really get the heat in there.
And while that's melting down, I'll just plate a little of this frisee, nice kind of semi-bitter endive style green. Grab one here. It's lid in attendance. And the jam.
Oh, beautiful. That is terrific, and we definitely need to try this.
Yes. Thank you. Go ahead, please.
I need to get into that egg. I've never eaten a duck egg before, so this is a new experience. There we go. Even with the white, I can tell the difference. Just pile it on here.
Thanks. I'm gonna...
That is really delicious.
It's a great little brunch dish. They're bigger, so with the bread and all, I think
Yeah, a little goes even farther.
one per person.
Yeah, Chef
Usually does
Tom,
it.
thank you so much.
You bet. Thank you.
We made eggs in a basket with duck eggs, and now we're going to cook with duck itself.
Duck, yes.
What are we gonna make?
We're gonna make a salad, great salad. Greens from the farmer's market, fresh strawberries, candied walnuts, a little Yellow River goat feta from Monona, Iowa, and the star of the show, the duck.
All right.
I'd like to trim one up for you.
All right, and these are
we
duck
can see.
breasts?
These are full duck breasts. So I like to trim the fat off flush with the meat here, because we don't need quite that much.
And what makes cooking with duck different from, say, chicken or one of the other meats people are more familiar with?
Doneness. Chicken, of course, you would cook all the way, absolutely, all the time. Duck tends to get served medium rare, medium. things like that. Duck, interestingly enough, has this skin on it, a nice fat layer, but the meat itself is about the fat content of skinless, boneless chicken breast.
Oh,
so we'll just crisp this up, discard the oil, and then what's left is really quite low in fat.
Okay.
So a couple other things I like to do with the duck breast here. This membrane right here, this little bit of silver skin, I like to trim off as far as I can see it.
And why is that?
It's just a little chewy, and also importantly, it tends to make the duck breast curl. Oh. So since I want it to stay nice and flat and look nice when I slice it up, I sever that as well as clean it off. And then I flip it over, and just to encourage it to render out some of its fat, as it cooks, I score in a diamond pattern the duck breast. And we'll just go right in a dry pan with this.
Right, and it's a nice hot pan.
A nice hot dry pan, and you can turn it down to medium if you need to.
Okay.
Because there's enough fat in the skin that it'll just go ahead and cook the duck breast.
And that second breast you'd already prepared.
It was all set to go.
Okay.
And we'll cook it about 4 minutes on that side.
All right, while the duck is cooking, time to candy the walnuts.
Yep. Walnuts go in the pan with sugar. We'll stir those up with a wooden spoon.
All right, I've got that.
And it will melt first and then candy. And what I like about candying walnuts is you candy and toast them all in one fell swoop.
All right, just on the stove top, no trips to the stove?
Don't even need to make a trip to the oven or even heat one up.
Nice.
So the walnuts are candying.
Okay.
We'll look for the sugar to melt down here.
All right.
Turn a nice kind of straw color.
All right.
And then we'll just scoop those out onto a pan to crisp up.
Right. You're going to make a quick little vinaigrette
A little balsamic vinaigrette, balsamic vinegar, Dijon mustard, whisk those together till the lumps break up and it's all distributed through, and pour right dead center in a slow, steady stream. And that's the vinaigrette for our salad. All right, these look ready to turn now, so I'll just give them a flip over. Those will cook about 3 more minutes on this side. And we'll let these rest for about 4 minutes while we assemble the salad. Plate our greens here. Fresh strawberries.
Wonderful.
Feta cheese. Goat or cow. This is goat, which is lovely.
You've given those candied walnuts a chance to cool down at least a little bit.
Yeah. Oh, they're good. Now we'll brave them. Now that the duck is rested, we'll go ahead and slice it up.
All right.
And I usually flip it over, start at a corner, and slice on the bias so I get nice, long, kind of elegant looking slices rather than just short, straight across ones. So, nice kind of medium rare to medium.
So we're looking for a nice pink in there.
Mm-hmm. And then when I want to fan it out, make it look nice, I just flip it back over and just kind of deal right off the top.
Wonderful. That is gorgeous. Thank you so much, Chef Tom.
Thank you for having me. It's been great.
What a pleasure. They say beauty is in the eye of the beholder, and that is certainly true when it comes to weeds and wild herbs many of us might overlook or find annoying in our own yards.
There's so much at our fingertips that we just don't even realize that's growing out there. Certain ththings like stinging nettles, that people hate stinging nettles on their property because they sting. It's not very comfortable to have your hands all covered with stinging nettles, but they're actually like kale times 10. It has all of the B vitamins, iron. It's just a super, super good herb. You have to cook it first, but once you know how to deal with these things, you can get a lot of nutrition out of things that most people would throw away.
Lynn is an herbalist. Her education allows her to create things like herbal teas, herbal tinctures, and cough drops, often using backyard-grown ingredients.
I was having a lot of medical issues myself, and everything kind of starts out as something selfish. It was about me. It was about finding something that could help with my issues, and finding those alternative methods of healing and kind of stumbling into herbalism, and it really kind of struck a chord with me. It seemed like we should be learning this from our grandparents and their parents, and it should be something that everybody just kind of knows about.
On her path to finding herbs, sharing knowledge, and creating herbal preparations, Lynn connected with the owners of Prairie Land Herbs, a 2-acre farm where a mother-daughter team create herbal products, such as mists, lotions, and perfumes, out of a multitude of fragrant herbs and flowers. They sell them online or at their shop, housed on site.
I am Donna Jolseth. I am co-owner with my daughter Maggie Howe of Prairie Land Herbs. We are known for making natural bath and beauty products. We use a lot of herbs, the same herbs that people eat, and a lot of them do not realize that herbs can be eaten internally, but they also can be used externally to produce a really high quality body product. We've got lemongrass and lemon verbena and sage and rosemary and thyme and comfrey and eucalyptus and basil. So we have a pretty extensive repertoire of herbs. It is surprising how many herbs are actually perennial in Iowa, and the ones that are annual are so prolific that we usually have a very abundant harvest at the end of our growing season.
Donna points out that she's not an herbalist. She's actually a microbiologist with experience as a naturalist too, which gives her the expertise to grow an abundance of herbs and flowers and work outside, which she loves. Meanwhile, her daughter Maggie takes the fruits of Lynn's labors and concocts the products. It's a harmonious relationship, just like the bond they have with the herbs themselves.
The reason that sage has been around for thousands of years and rosemary and all these things is that they have a benefit to the creatures around them if we know how to unlock that benefit.
From an herbalist's use of herbs to create teas and tinctures, to a mother-daughter team's creativity in producing perfumes and salves, using the plants we grow to benefit our lives has a back-to-basics feel to it, and a community that embraces it.
I absolutely love what I do. We have this tremendous network of other people that have talents that we don't, and we all get to come together, and it's always joyful. It's a joyful exchange of information and good things that make us feel better, health-wise, emotionally, all those kinds of things.
That's it for this episode. I hope you enjoyed this snapshot of Iowa's food scene. I'm Charity Nebbe. See you next time for more tasty goodness on Iowa Ingredient. As you can probably guess, the Iowa Ingredient staff appreciates everything about the food scene in Iowa. And in 2016 and early 2017, we visited the restaurants, farms, and other locations showcased on this program. But circumstances can change, so we encourage you to check ahead if you're planning a visit of your own. We hope you get the chance to get out there and enjoy Iowa's fabulous food experiences for yourself.
Funding for Iowa Ingredient has been provided by a grant from the W.T. and Edna M. Dahl Trust, Chef Lisa Laval of Trellis Cafe and Chef Michael Laval of the Des Moines Embassy Club. For more than 100 years, the Des Moines Embassy Club has provided a place to dine, celebrate, and do business. Located in downtown Des Moines and in West Des Moines, details are at embassyclub.com. Friends, the Iowa Public Television Foundation.